G'day and welcome to the Hunters Campfire Podcast. My name's Mark and along with good mate Ian, we're here to help with all things hunting. If you're looking to start but don't know where to begin, you want to make the most of your next trip away or even plan that hunt of a lifetime, we've got something for you. You'll find our podcasts on Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon and plenty of others. And if you want more, head over to our YouTube channel, The Hunters Campfire, where we have plenty of how-to and hunting videos along with the full video production of every podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and good hunting.
Hello, mate.
And how are you this evening?
We've just been belted by one of these awesome late spring. Is it spring? Yeah, it's still spring. Just late spring storms. We had a big hail event that was supposed to come over that just turned into a torrential downpour. So just finished mopping up that mess, but that's okay. We love the rain.
Yeah, we got a bit of rain, but no storm. It looked like it was going to give us a hiding, but no, we just got some good rain, so which is good. So yes, but it didn't drop the temperature down any, which is a bit disappointing. I was hoping it was going to bring in some cool air, but didn't work that way.
Yeah, no, it's amazing up here. We've gone from serious drought to fluorescent green in a week. It's just amazing. You know, I was commenting that I was irrigating one of my paddocks because I threw some seed out to pasture improve a few acres, and I was irrigating that just to give it a head start, and it just sort of keeps it, you know, gets it going and whatever. But then the rain comes and just nothing beats rain.
No,
you can irrigate as much as you want, but nothing beats the rain.
I was having the same conversation. Well, not the same conversation, very similar conversation today. How green it is at the moment around here. Considering we're in El Nino, he hasn't turned up yet, it would appear.
Summer will be dry, we reckon, but that's all right.
Yeah, they keep saying 24 is at the right time, but at the moment it's very green around here. I'm into the mowing the grass once a week cycle at the moment. So
yeah. Anything interesting happened during the week?
For those listening, I was going to say, for those listening, Jono's not here. Got his pants caught in the wire.
stuck in the wire. Gold.
Stuck in the wire.
Love it.
God, that's it. So no, Jono's not here. I think he's in Sydney, to be honest, or he's either in Sydney or he's in transit back to Brisbane, one of the two. But he's not here tonight, so it's just us two. For the week, I suppose the interesting news is we finally started to put stuff on our pre-blooded page, which is a page, which is an odd name, but anyway, on our website for the stuff that we're selling. And it seems to be very well received. We've sold some stuff already, which I was a bit surprised about. In fact, there's a couple of items here ready to go to the post. So if you're listening and you're looking for some quality gear at bargain basement prices, check out the pre-blooded page. I've got a pack on there at the moment. You had a pack that's gone. You had a hammock that's gone.
It lasted a couple of hours.
There's a couple of I think there's a scope on there, but it's an air rifle scope. It's a good little scope. It's an air rifle scope. There's a couple of shooting sticks. There's another meat processing tool, and there's a new pack. And I'm going to drop some very, very nice knives on there on the weekend, but they won't be cheap. They won't be cheap, but they're very nice.
Yeah, and don't forget my spotting scope. There's a spotting scope.
Oh, that's right, the spotting scope on it, which is the Vortex. Which one is it?
It's the Vortex Razor HD. It's a 27-60, which is a massive zoom. I actually bought this for a trip to New Zealand and used it over there, and then haven't really used it since. So it's up for grabs. And I guess a point to note about this site, all the gear on there is ours. Like it's Mark's or mine.
That's right.
We're only putting stuff up there that's of good quality. So, you know, if you're buying something, it's in reasonable nick. It's not just an every man and his dog flogging some product on the page. although as much as we'd like to, it's very difficult to be able to control other people's quality of product if we do decide, if we were to decide to put it up there. So we're keeping it to our gear. There's quite a bit of stuff that's floating around. So if you see it up there, you'll get it for a good price. The Vortex scope, for example, somewhere around $2,900 new. If you go online and have a look at it, it's in as new condition for $1,500. So you're getting a really good price for something like that if you're in the market for a pretty good spotting scope. So have a look. Check it out.
The pack I put on there is it's basically minty. It's minty condition. I think it's only carried 1 or 2 animals. That's it.
Mine carried gear to the territory and carried dust back from the territory. That's it. Yeah, there'll be. I think Graham's picked that up. He'll inherit a little bit of Northern Territory dust with it, but not too much.
And one of the knives is actually they're collectibles. They'll be up this week sometime. They're Puma collectibles. So if you're after a really, 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 really nice knife, I'm going to stick a couple of I'm going to reach into my collection and pull a couple out.
Oh, it'll be torches next.
No, I don't think so. I don't think that'll happen. No, I've got far more knives than I've got torches.
Fair enough. Well,
actually, I just bought another one. That's it.
I just bought another torch. Of course you did.
No, I bought another knife. Bought another Benchmade. So a friend of mine in the States, Jake, if you're listening, hey buddy, he sent me a message from Messenger, Facebook Messenger. One of their Black Friday sales over there, and it was ridiculous. So I went, you just have to buy that for me, mate, and send it to me. So it's coming.
That's cool.
That's it.
I had a thought during the week. Tomorrow, 30 days has September, April, June, and November. Oh, we've got one more day. Tomorrow is the last day of spring.
Technically, yeah. Let's think. September, October, November. Yep. September, October, November. Yep.
So
March, April,
the
May,
day
June,
after that is the first day of summer.
Correct.
Which means we're 3 months away from autumn.
Yes.
That's not long. We've got 3 months.
I'm already thinking about. Well, I got my trail cams already up there.
Yeah.
So yes, and I'm literally writing my monthly column because I write in advance, and I'm writing about exactly that. Yes. The thoughts are already turning to the raw next year, and I'm wondering what it's going to be like. Because last year the year before was the best raw ever. Last year I didn't see game. I heard it, didn't see it till May. And whatever reason, they didn't come off the hills. I don't know why, but they did not come off the hills. I don't know if they were pressured too much. Don't know what was going on. I did have a problem with people on the block who shouldn't have been on the block. Maybe that screwed the pooch as it goes. But I've got cameras up there, and I've actually been trying to get some time to go up and check on those cameras. And tonight we're going to talk about cameras and stuff like that. And I would have liked to show my trail cameras, but they're all 5 of them busy working at the moment. So I'm hoping to get up there soon and see what's about, and then and readjust accordingly. But with trail cams, I really get serious early February.
Yes. Well, I think I've got mine.
Mine are on the hills.
Well, show you later.
Sure.
Secret box, but it's been really good actually. We've had a number of different people reaching out, offering us the opportunity to go and do some hunting. And Dave Willie, that we all know of, or a lot of us know of, he's heading out to Nundle next week. So I'm trying to get the ducks to align to have a sneaky afternoon off on Thursday, and head up there for a bit of a sneaky mission. Might pick up a meat deer if I'm lucky, but really it's an opportunity for me to get trail cams out before then. So 3 months out there. I had trail cams out, if you remember. I had one out there for 12 months taking photos, and it's 5 to 12 months, and I've got a couple of good spots I'd like to put them. So, it would be a great opportunity to get out there if I can sneak back to Nundle for a nice long weekend. See how we go with that.
Yep.
So that's what's going on in my brain, but certainly looking forward to the rut. It's not far away. Preparations will begin in earnest, really, anytime now.
Basically, I start to really get focused after Australia Day. I want to know what's going on up there now because I want to see if there's any movement. And it was pretty dry up when I was up there last time, but I don't. By looking at the radar, it hasn't been that problem's been solved. Last couple of years, there's been significant rain events in the beginning of the year. There was that February rain event where actually Brisbane had a bit of flooding, and last year it wasn't the same time, but they did have another good rain event. So it'd be interesting to so earlier this year. So it'd be interesting to see if we're going to get another one, because that seemed to change everything like overnight. It was like dry, and then bang, just completely changed. And there's a couple of when I was last up there, the property had been destocked, and I was finding deer sign in open paddocks, which I hadn't seen for 6 months. So that's interesting too, the effect that the stock had on the deer movement. Yep. So I'm keen to get up there, and I think it will be destocked for a while now. I don't think they'll restock it for a while, so it'll be interesting to see what happens.
So thinking about those weather patterns, then last year out at Nundle Hanging Rock was one of the better seasons that I'd seen out there for a long time. Lots of animals moving around. There was a lot of disturbance in previous years from bushfires that pushed them out of pockets of areas that they were well known to be and into other areas. So they seem to have picked up more territory, if you want to call it that way. I was seeing them in more spaces more frequently, which was great. But we had a cracking season leading up to that. We had all of that rain, over or pre-Christmas and over Christmas, and almost got to the point where people they'd had enough of the water, and that's a bit unheard of when you're out in farm country. But we've had a dry spell. We've had a pretty big dry spell, especially out our way, but I imagine you've seen it as well up where you're hunting. Probably, I don't know, almost 3 months or more of pretty poor rain events. How much impact do you think that's had on this year's animals? Do you think that's going to have had growth problems? Do you think it's going to have impacted them? Do you think this, pickup in the rain is really just going to set things back where it's supposed to be? What's your opinion on that?
I don't. So, and this is based on absolutely no scientific evidence. So I don't think they respond that quickly. So my feeling after hunting drought, so 2006 up to 2009, and then massive rains, and then dry, and then massive rains again. So I've got a bit of cycles, and this is not just Brisbane Valley, but this is around the place. What seems to happen is, the animals don't respond quickly. They're like maybe 2 seasons out of sync. So there's a big rain event, so all of a sudden there's water on the ground, and those animals that are still alive, get a drink again, and then there's regrowth and there's pick, and then they breed up, and then so there's a population increase, but it's like it's a period of time later because they're not magical animals. They don't simply separate and there's 2 of them, 4 of them, and so on and so forth. There's a cycle, and then there's natural loss associated with that, but there's more that are alive than there was last year. And so they breed, and if you look at certain feral animals, like I believe, and I don't have the scientific evidence of this, but I believe that in good seasons, goats and pigs will breed multiple times in a year in terms of their aging. So a goat that's born in a year can actually produce in that same 12 months, as it were. and same with pigs. So then you kind of get that multiplying effect. And if the conditions are good, that there's less loss associated with starvation and stuff like that. So, but there's a time when their population is growing and the conditions start to wane again. So you get to that point where there's too many now for the conditions. So it's like a boom and bust cycle. And so then they start to get affected by the conditions. So I believe that we probably got 1 or 2 more good years before we start to see the effect of bad conditions. But the thing is, and the longer that we, not long we obviously, the longer that Mother Nature continues to produce good years with good yields, then those animals will keep building and building and building and building and building. And then, then the bad stuff happens. So, and then you have the drop. So I remember when I was hunting Pilliga in 2018, which was like the height, almost like the last year of the drought. So it was like we'd had a significant drought for a number of years, and it just got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. So there was hardly any water in the Pilliga at all, and it was winter, and we were finding literally animals dead near water supply, and they just died of either dehydration or hypothermia, one of the two. And we knew that there was a big mob of goats because we would just find the evidence of them, and they were just moving around the water supply. On the last day, we just happened to be on the water supply, and they turned up. They literally were there and went, and you just saw them. They just turned up en masse. A massive mob of goats just appeared out of nowhere. So, that's what's going to continue to I think will happen. And same with the deer. I suppose the only thing that you'll notice more in deer is that the conditions seem to be reflected in their antler growth.
Yeah.
Because antler growth is a huge nutritional matter. That's why and overseas you see a first year fallow deer and it's got bloody canoe palms on it because the amount of food on the ground. So I think as long as there's good food on the ground and there's good water on the ground, I think you'll continue to have an upgrowth, but you'll get to a point where competition, and so when that starts to decline, you'll get competition for that. So I expect, and like we've had evidence, or we've heard reports, sorry, not evidence, but we've heard reports that there is big numbers of red deer up in the Brisbane Valley.
Yep.
So, I expect, and I mean, and you had some of those images of some of those reds that have been shot around there on the range country, and they're massive.
Yeah.
That's it. So I'd expect that they'll still be massive for a couple of years if this is the turn we're getting into. Yeah. If this is the start of the El Nino again, if this is it that I expected, and for at least a couple of years they'll be massive, and then there'll be a slow decline, and they'll not only be decline in quality, but there'll be simply a decline in numbers because they won't just be able. And then I suppose that then has a multiplying effect. So there's less of them, so there's less breeding, so there's less of them, there's less breeding, and so on and so forth. I don't know. Again, from an observational point of view, you'll notice that when drought comes, sheep farmers get out of sheep and get into goats, and then the goat market goes crazy, and then they open up all these goat abattoirs everywhere, and then as soon as rain comes, they kick the goats out and they bring sheep back in. And then the goat market falls over, almost seemingly overnight because everyone's back into sheep again.
Oh man, we don't do ourselves any favours.
So it seems to be that's kind of the cyclic nature of it all.
Okay, so you've heard it here first. Mark's prediction for animal qualities is high. Yep. Should be seeing similar things that we saw last year. I mean, we had a downturn in water volume, but it was for it. It felt like a long time, 4 months or something like that. It felt like a long time. Certainly noticed it on our property, but we got stock feeding on there, and the grass couldn't keep up. Yeah. So But some of these parks that we go to, they're in country that's almost in rain clouds all the time. If I think about that whole Nundle area, it's always damp. Doesn't matter what time of year you go there, it's damp. And there's it's a big park. There's a lot of park for the animals. So,
and I on my phone with AccuWeather, for some reason it keeps on, because I did it one year. I made Walker
your point,
the reference point. So I always get weather report. I go, holy, can't be that cold. Because it's
well, I know.
and it's raining. Seems to rain a lot. So
thinking about going to Nundle, like I said, I've been looking at it, and it's getting down to 6 degrees there in the evening. Still, that's
right.
That's cool enough.
Yep. So you're not getting a lot of evaporation. That place, the soil holds water. There's water everywhere. You find bits of water everywhere. That whole range country, out west it might be different. Though these storms that we've been having, there's been certainly a number of good falls around Narrabri, I believe, by looking at the map. So but eventually it'll start to dry out, and then there'll be so there's probably going to be a sweet spot for hunting ferals, which will be when the water supply is limited and it concentrates them, so they all all that biomass of feral animals go looking for that water. So if you can predict that sweet spot, there'll be a time where they'll all be looking for water, and if you can find it and sit on a dam, they'll come to you.
Cool. So trail cams you've talked about, heading up there to put it. Well, you put them up there already. Anything else you're working through at the moment? 3 months before autumn, you're starting to look at any particular bits of gear that need refining. You got any combinations of rifle that are going to change? What's the summer hold for preparing for the season for the rut and raw?
So, as I said, trail cam's up, and I'm running 2 types of trail cameras. I'm running the $99 Anaconda Special, which I don't think you can get anymore. I think they've changed that up. But, I believe they've actually brought out a better quality or, higher res or higher res version. So I've got 4 of those. They're getting a bit on, but they're working fine still. The only thing that seems to fail on them after a while is the nylon strap.
The webbing, yep.
Yeah, the webbing strap, that fails. And then last time I was up there, it failed, and I just made do and used cable ties and bits and pieces. But that seems to be the only real failure on them. The actual camouflage paint fades a little bit, but other than that, they seem to work fine. And I've also got a newer style trial camera that I've got in one of the places, which is uses the forward mounts. There's a little hatch and you can see the screen. So I just did that because I think they're easier to set up. So I'm happy to see how that one goes. So there's that. Rifle wise, will be sighting in the 30-06 with 180 grain bombs because I just want to. And I'll be running that at 200 yards. So that'll be sitting at 200 yards because I really like carrying that rifle, and we'll be hunting with that rifle. That's about it for new gear in that zone. So everything else is about right. But get that rifle running right. And I only do that just for the pleasure of it, to be honest. I could go up there tomorrow with the 150 grain Seikos that it fires now, and it'll shoot the eyes out of anything. But I'm going to play around for it just to play around with it. So that's going to be the 180. So that's probably. I don't think I've got any other new gear to try out. I probably will have a new pack before I get up there. I'm looking. That's it. I'm looking for a pack. I'm in the market for a pack. So
I've seen one for sale on a website.
Yeah, I have. That's right. I have too. It's a very nice colour too. It's my favourite colour.
Oh, good. Yeah. All right. Well, that's interesting updates. There's a bit of stuff that I'm trying to refine, but it's very similar. Most of my stuff I'll just throw on my back as per last year.
Yeah.
I'm just in 2 minds which rifle to take because I'm enjoying them both. The Benelli and the BRX. It's hard to choose. I don't know. Figure it out as we go. It's okay. Good problem.
Only because I've got wonderful options. So basically, Brisbane Valley is the 3006, the older T3, the custom T3. Nundle is the CDR custom in 308, and Pilliga and Severn and other feral countries is the BRX. Only because I've got those options.
Yeah.
That's it.
Like I said, good problem to have. All right. So leading on then into our topic of the night, we were going to talk about camera gear, really.
Yep.
And this was this will start with cameras that you might want to use as a hunter just to record some things for yourself, through to where we might have started and the kind of gear that we're using now to try and record some of the hunts that we go on to share. I guess we'll start with prior to documenting this to share with others, what were you doing as far as camera gear back then? Like if you were just doing it for yourself to capture something, and what was its purpose? Because a lot of people take a camera out so that they can play back what's happened and try and figure out what went wrong or what went right, and where the shot went and those sorts of things. So you're interested as to where you started with your filming, however many years ago that was.
So for me, my camera gear started when I had my first couple of articles published, and I got some positive feedback, but they said the images weren't really that crash hot, and I was just using a little point and shoot type thing,
instant camera type thing.
Yeah, little point and shoot. It was just one of those little, literally cigarette pack size point and shoots with a little inbuilt zoom on the lens. My boys still use it. They use it because it shoots video, but I never use it for video. I use it for point and shoot because I was writing for magazines, and my boys use it to do videos. So after about the third or fourth article, I decided I wrote an article that I got a front cover, so I got a goodly chunk of change. So I bought a DSLR. So I bought a Nikon or Nikon, depending on how you like to pronounce it, D7000. So which was so Nikon have consumer, enthusiast, and pro. It was an enthusiast level camera, which meant it had an aluminium frame, and it had things like it was dust sealed, and it had dual ports and all that stuff. And so it was I bought the body and I bought lenses, and I've still got it. Sits in the studio. Bought a whole lot of lenses and a whole lot of gear, and I carry that. And there's actually I'm going to post a photo of me. I'll probably use it for that. I'm in England, and it's around my neck, and I use that to shoot 10 years worth of magazine stuff. It has very good video functionality, by the way, but it's big and heavy, and a 300mm lens, which is what I was running, not a 300mm prime, but I was running like a 70-300, is about 4 pounds worth of glass, and it's about that big.
Yeah.
So its limitations became obvious. So when I started to video, I was using that for a little while, and then I realized I needed a better video option. And so with my video options, then I went to a Sony video camcorder. And the reason I went to a camcorder was because I know a lot of guys use DSLRs for video, but I thought I'm going to buy a video camera for videoing. So I bought a video camera, and I bought this Sony AX53, which is literally a camcorder. And it's absolutely fantastic. Shoots 4K. It's got the pop-out screen. It's got a magnificent zoom function on it. It's got a adjustable eyepiece, and more than anything, it's ridiculously easy to use.
Yeah.
You just open it up, and it's got night vision, so it does the green weird stuff. You can do night vision. A lot of videos you see me up in Brisbane Valley, when it's in night vision, I'm using that. So that's kind of where I went from DSLR. I went to a video camera. And the thing is, they're not that popular in many instances, but I find, it's built for purpose. So was the beginning of my video journey, because I've got other things as well, but that was the beginning of my video journey. And we'll talk about the other things. So what about you? So we'll jump over to you, and then I'll talk about my other stuff.
Yeah, so I never got into photography. We had a big DSLR, one of the early digital SLRs that came out. It was a gift for my wife when we were traveling around the world, 20 years ago or something now, 15 years ago. And I was really impressed by its quality, but it never had a video function on it. It was purely a camera. And I took that, wandering around trying to figure out how to, how to deal with shutter speeds and apertures and ISO settings. And rather than being a point and shoot, I wanted to learn how to do a little bit more. I think it confused the living daylights out of me, and I ended up not really carrying on with it. But when I started hunting a lot, especially when I was organising trips with the ADA, and I was taking, younger hunters out or new hunters out, I really enjoyed documenting the new hunters' first hunt. Like they didn't even really know what I was doing, but I was just taking some footage. And in the end, I put together a weekend video of their first hunt where they shot their first deer, and I was able to chuck that up on a YouTube channel privately and share it with them so that they could relive their moment. And I thought that was pretty cool. And I used, just like you talked about, a point and shoot type camera, like a little pocket camera, and it had a little zoom on it, and I put that on a little tripod so that I was able to get some steady shots. And that, in combination with my first GoPro, which was, I don't know how old that is now, probably a GoPro Hero 2, I was able to capture quite a bit of cool footage. I did start off with the GoPro first, but quickly realized that whilst it's a really good sort of vlogging type camera that, you can talk to and you can show a bit of scenery, but it's all very up close and personal type stuff. You can't point that at a deer in a paddock and expect anyone to see it. It doesn't work that way. They're very much, first person type camera. But they have their place, absolutely. And, so I went from there. We did a couple of trips to New Zealand, and I carted around, and we created some cool videos, but it was all in first person. I was always on the lookout for something else, and all of the research that I did pointed me to DSLRs. Again, you're talking about a dedicated camera. I wanted something like that as well, and you see a lot of hunters that are out there that are doing this stuff all the time and taking a lot of video. They carry this massive camera with this amazing zoom on it. And I can't even remember what brand it is, but you'll recognize it. It's a chunky piece of gear.
You mean it's a Nikon, and it's there's two of them. Canon make one. It was the SX range, which was what they kind of called what they used to call them, though, like a transition. So they were kind of point and shoot in operation, but they looked like a DSLR, but you couldn't change the lens in them. They had a huge built-in zoom. Zoom. There was a Canon SX, I think, is the Canon model, and Nikon had one. They have one as well, and there's the latest one's like the 1000, and it's
incredible.
Yeah, but it's got some massive zoom on it.
It's a huge thing, right? And I thought I'm going to get one of them. That's where I thought I was going to go. And I went into the shop and I said, I want to buy one of these things. I saved up my dollars, told the guy at the camera store what I was looking at doing. He said, yeah, it's a great idea, but have you felt the weight of it? And they are heavy, seriously heavy. And there's many people out there, I'm not going to say that they're the wrong camera to have. but it's a pretty chunky piece of kit, and I wasn't convinced that that's what I wanted to walk around in the bush with. So I ended up going with one of the first Canon mirrorless DSLR. So it's actually quite small.
Yep.
Put in my hand. It looks big because it's got a cage around it. But this was an SLR that had all of the recording functionality on it, and I wanted the ability to do manual settings on it to adjust ISOs and things like that to get some better quality footage. So I went with this. The problem I have with it is, like, it's got a very short range. You've got to carry lenses. You've got the kit lens that comes with it that does a fantastic job.
Yeah, which is usually like 24 to 70, something like that. Yep.
Yeah, what is it?
Which is a 24 to 70, something like that. They're just portrait cameras, portrait lenses.
This is a 15 to 45.
There you go. It's even more fish-eyed.
Yeah. But when I was out hunting with people, and we were now in the situation where there were deer over there that I wanted to capture and show in the videos, I had to stop and get a lens out and plug a bigger lens on the front of it. And by the time I carried all of that stuff around, I might as well have just bought that heavy piece of gear that did all of that stuff for me. So it's kind of, that's where I went. But I've used this camera for a long time, and I still use it. I've carried this around in the bush all over the place. It's small enough, surprisingly weather resistant. Like, it's walked in snow and rain and crap and been dropped in mud. For all of the ports and bits and pieces on it, they look fragile, but it's a reasonably well made camera. It's never had any problems, and it delivers good quality imagery, which is what I want. So that was my entry. That was my entry level. I still use this as part of the kit that I use, but it's not my go-to video camera anymore. But it's interesting when we start to talk about what we're currently using. This is becoming more important all over again for another reason, and I'll talk about that shortly.
No, that's I'm the same. So, by the way, that Nikon is the Coolpix range, I think.
Yeah,
the one.
Yeah, that's the one I was thinking about.
So I went for a dedicated video camera, and I'm probably going to upgrade that one next year, and I will go to just a more powerful dedicated video camera. But what I found was that when we were doing videos, and we started to do the type of videos that we're doing, where there's a lot of interaction between the hunt and the audience, I like yourself, I kind of went, hang on, I've got the long range set up now. I can do, and there's a lot of videos you see me, we're looking at deer and they're at significant range, and I'm just zooming straight in on them. I needed something that I could use at close range and when I'm addressing the camera and talking to the audience. And so I went for one of the Sony vlogging cameras, which was a kind of Back to the Future thing.
Yeah.
So again, this is like your one, this is in a cage, so it's in a metal cage. I think this is the ZV-1, I think it is. And this is a really powerful camera. There is actually a mirrorless version of this, and it's enticing, but the mirrorless just not going to like just changing the lenses in the field just doesn't just seems too much like help. So this has got the screen that does the full reverse, so you can hang it out on the side like this, so you can look at yourself while you're there like that, and if you got people, they can see you too. So that's really, and it's got it's just a really, really powerful vlogging camera. Just
pause on that for a sec, because that's a really important feature. One of the things that I didn't get right with this one when I picked it, because I don't know, it just wasn't a feature I looked at the time. The screen on the back of this doesn't flip around.
Yeah,
it flips down. But when it's in the cage, that's as far as it goes. So like just to see what's going on. But even if it wasn't in the cage, when you flip that down, if it's on any sort of tripod, it doesn't work either.
Yep.
So if you're looking at different types of cameras, I think a really, really important feature to consider is how that screen operates. And unless someone tells me that there's some magic feature that allows this thing to turn another way, it's always facing the back, and that's a real problem. Then I was like, oh well, I can connect it to the Canon app, and I can see it on my phone, and I can frame the thing where it doesn't work. So there's a lot of guesswork that goes on with my camera because it doesn't do what Mark's doing.
And
so get that type.
This is a touch screen too, so this thing's a touch screen, so it's really easy. And there's actually a dedicated, very small, like a tabletop tripod for this, and it's only I haven't got it with me. It's only 8 inches long, but it's actually Bluetooth, so it's got the controls on it. But more to the point, when you're holding it at arm's length, it's perfect for that. And you'll see a lot of the videos where I'm in the Brisbane Valley, I'm walking along, and I'm using this because it has some of the features. For instance, it's got a really good stabilization in it. So, and it also has that really weird feature now that's become more and more popular with socials and vlogging, where you can blur or you can blur the background.
Yeah, that's ISO.
It's just a button. It just blurs the background or defocuses the background, and that's for people use this for product placement. So they'll the thing, it's all product placement, so it blurs it. But this is actually a remarkably powerful camera for shooting video, because whilst it can't see the game at a great distance, it's a really good way of building a bridge between you and your audience, because it's really easy to talk to this camera, and it's got great audio and video quality. It's got a built-in, a very powerful built-in mic. But on this particular one, I use a little Ferry shotgunner, which gives you fantastic audio quality if you're talking to the camera. So I've got the bigger rig, and it's not a bigger, but I suppose the more long range video, and I work with the vlogging camera for that one. So that's part 2, because there's actually 4 parts to this particular formula for me.
Yeah. We'll get into that as well.
So over to you.
Yeah. So again, back to this little guy. It's got many of the same features that you're talking about. I think it's quite important that it has easy upload, Wi-Fi to your phone, so you can dump footage if you need to. I've never had a drama with this. Battery life's always been pretty good. Even I carry multiple batteries for it, and you end up stocking that sort of stuff up because you need it to last for a reasonable amount of time when you're in the bush. I pack some packs and packs of batteries. But I do kind of. I think if you're trying to get into the world of creating videos to chuck up on the likes of YouTube, you need that. You need at least those 2 cameras, I think. Yeah. Because the GoPro type device, I think it's an amazing invention. The stabilization that it's got and the quality of the footage that it brings out is excellent. And you can throw it in the mud, and you can stick it underwater, and you can put it in, rocks and rivers and, all sorts of places that you're not going to put these things to capture something quite unique. So I sort of think you need that and something that can give you, what I call a longer distance view to get away from just first person talking, because videos can get pretty monotonous if it's always just in your face.
That's right, and that the benefit of that is you can get a 2 camera perspective, especially, and that's really important if you're self-filming. If you're self-filming and you've only got 1 camera perspective, you're kind of really limiting your storytelling. Whereas with this particular gig, I can have the long range going, and I can be talking to the other camera. So I can be set up somewhere, and I've done it in a number of videos. I'm set up somewhere, the big camera's rolling, there's game in the distance, and I'm talking to the other camera about what I'm seeing. So it helps build the connectivity. So, and that's something if you're thinking about your videos from a storytelling perspective, and if you're telling the story for yourself, having multiple perspectives in terms of cameras is really beneficial, which leads me to my 3rd part of the rig, which is a little GoPro. This is a GoPro 8. I have to say that I'm not so excited by the GoPros. I was when I first I looked forward to owning it. but its limitations are significant. And so, and I've played around with it a lot of different ways to get around those limitations. So, for instance, this one has what they call the media case, which is basically a case that wraps around it and gives it a better microphone. And in its current state, I've got a little Amazon special a little flap that actually allows you to have exposure to the USB-C. So you can run, I can run this on external power. So I can run this on a battery bank, because one of the problems with the GoPro 8 is you get about half an hour at the most. Very, very limited viewing.
Yeah.
So that runs power, but what I found is by doing that, this thing gets stinking hot. So where I'm now using the GoPro is I use it to create another camera angle. So generally the bigger camera sits on a tripod, and this GoPro sits on a gooseneck, that flexible gooseneck, and it's attached to the tripod. And while that camera's looking that way, this is looking back at the shooter.
Yeah.
So it's given me another camera angle. I've reduced the usage of audio on it. I use it now just for video footage, and very particular video footage that is generally, close range, detailed video footage. It's a shame. I just think there are certain environments or certain applications, that the GoPro is perfect for, but it doesn't seem to suit my storytelling. To be honest, just doesn't suit it.
So I am the same, except I have the 9, and it's very, very similar. It's got a slightly larger screen on the front, which is quite handy. It's got replaceable lenses. You can twist them off and twist new ones on. It's got that same housing on the outside, which gives you access to USB and a couple other bits and pieces. I fell out of love with GoPro pretty recently. I struggle with the bugginess of it. So I've got 5 batteries for it, which is really unfortunate because I'll only ever use 1 or 2 now. Just not using it.
I got 3. Yeah.
The good thing about these things is when you buy it, you can go onto eBay and you can pay $25 and get 100 accessories for it.
Yes.
For mounting it here and mounting it all over the place. There's so much optionality for this thing. That's a really cool thing. But unfortunately for me, and it's not just me, a lot of people report these problems. There are so many software glitches. It freezes up, it stops working. You've got to pull the batteries out. The design flaw in this thing, I just can't believe that someone did something so stupid. But the little feet are attached to the camera, right? On this one, I don't know if yours is the same.
It's
right. So when you go and slide this into a case, you slide it into the case and then you fold the feet down, which is fine, right? Yeah, it works really well. Till you need to change the battery, because it's then got to slide back out of the case again to get to the battery port so that I can open that and swap it over, and then it's got to go back. Just the design flaw is terrible in that way. And when you've got gloves on or cold fingers or any of those sorts of things, it's a pain. And it wouldn't be as much of a pain if these bloody little batteries didn't fail all the time. Yeah. So I've popped up to Hunts with 5 full batteries. You stick this thing in the side, you turn it on, it says you've got 99% battery. You turn around and start talking to it, and it says low battery and dies. And just shits itself. And I'm talking about 5 degrees, 4 degrees. They advertise these things with snowboarders and people that are alpine doing all sorts of weird things, and minus 30 and the like, 4 degrees and the battery dies. It's just like I can't trust it, and that for me is really unfortunate.
Yes.
So it's now become my sort of, I don't know, it's an optional. I'm not worried about its safety anymore. I've got a harness that goes on my dog. This goes on the dog. The dog runs through the scrub. If I get some cool footage, that's what I'll use it for. I've moved to the DJI Osmo Action. They've just released their 4th generation of that. I'm talking to it here, which is why I can't show it to you, but it looks the same as this. Same form factor, slightly bigger screen on the front. 0 bugs. Batteries are perfect. Like everything DJI, they just make shit so well.
Yeah.
This is the battery pack, right? It comes with 2 batteries in there. You plug a USB-C on the side of it, tells you that it's charged. GoPro don't have anything like that. I've got this like 2 battery charger thing over there that it doesn't hold them in a holder. They'll fall out if I take it anywhere. DJI have got this stuff sewn up. And like I said, the battery life is better, and there's been 0 glitches, no freeze-ups, no anything, and I've been using it now for a couple of months. So I'm pretty happy with that. If I was to go back and, if I was to give anyone advice about action cams, if you're buying one, my opinion, go the Action 4. It just is better.
Yeah, there's a very good chance that I won't buy another GoPro, that's for sure. And I don't know if I'll buy another action cam. I think I'll stick with that one until it dies, and then I'll just do something different. Yeah, I am ultimately not particularly impressed with the GoPro. The only benefit is I went the 8, which was a Super Seed at the time, so I got it for a pretty good price. It's still quite functional, and it's got a lot of accessories, but I'm not particularly impressed for what we do. I can see there's where it would excel, but it's not what we do.
Yeah, I really like the action cam, and I wouldn't be without one for what we do. Just assuming that this is, all connected the way it's supposed to be connected. I carry mine around on one of these Gorilla Grip mounts.
Yeah.
And you'll see on a few of the videos that I have it right next to me when I'm shooting, so it's on me as I'm shooting, and I've always got this just tucked in next to my bino rig, so I can just bend it over like that and talk to it without having to pull it out, or I don't have to hold it. Can talk to it, but if I'm lining up on goats or deer or whatever, I can put it out. I can get some good footage. I enjoy that really up close and personal view. You see a lot of people when they're doing these videos, you've got your long range camera here, and then you've got picture in picture over here, so you can see what's going on. I quite like that as an option, and I'd never do without it. But I'm certainly glad I've made the switch.
Yeah. So for me, number 4 in the kind of lineup. So I've got the Sony Handycam, I've got the Sony vlogging camera, I've got the GoPro. Number 4 is this thing.
I was going to do that.
There's my doggy.
Yeah.
There's my old boy. So the video camera. It's actually the phone as a video camera has become. I've actually, at first I kind of poo-pooed the idea, but I've actually come back to it because, again, in certain instances it's fantastic. And I think, remember there was about maybe a year ago I just did a heap of video when I was up the block one day and was just posting little snippets onto our Facebook page and just getting creative with it. It's got limitations on obviously on the range, but working around that, it certainly produced another. What it did was it gave you another camera angle, which I really liked. It was really good for that. So you could have multiple camera angles going. And in fact, the reason I started using on that particular day was because I forgot the batteries for the big guy. So I got up there and went, bugger. I was charging them at home the night before and left them on the charger. So I thought, I'll use this. And so your home, your phone as a video camera is a very good option for a particular type of camera angle. So for me, that's the kind of 4 that I'll lean on to give me as many camera angles as possible.
Yeah. So I 100% agree. The phone has become even more of a useful tool for me for videoing because it's in your pocket. It's in my pocket. Yep. It's actually in my bino rig. It's right here.
Yep.
I put it in my bino rig. Yep. Rig. It's right there. I do that so I can access maps and do everything while I'm on the walk. But it's really easy to just pick it up, flip it sideways. I've got to keep remembering to turn it sideways because I don't like sticking portrait view and landscape videos that we make, but that's all right. It's just something you got to get used to. But I really enjoy using this, and it's so quick and easy just to, have a really quick, candid conversation if all of your other stuff is too hard to get to. I'm using it more than ever. There's some very cool apps, and I was madly scrolling to try and find the name of the app that I've been looking at. But there's an app that you can download onto here. It's a freebie. You get more features if you subscribe to it, of course, and I'll drop it in the show notes underneath. But basically, it gives you full manual access to your camera. So you'll notice a lot of these cameras now, they've got multiple lenses. So they've got, wide angles, they've got close-up macro lenses, and they've got a long-distance lens. That's what they are. This is how these things function. It gives you full control over all of that, gives you ISO settings, gives you shutter speed settings, aperture settings on your phone. So it actually turns it into a pretty damn good tool. If you just use the normal video features on these devices, there are ways of accessing some of the smarts. Like up here in the top corner, there's a HD button. I can click the HD button, turn it into 4K. I can change the frame rate, things like that, so you can get slow motion. Most people don't even know those buttons exist. Cinematic's going to give you a blurrier background, all of those sorts of things. It's not an iPhone course. Just to say that there's so much you can do with it. If you don't have the pocket money to go and get another good camera, then learn how to use the smartphone. There's some bloody good features in there that most of us will never use. That's my sort of half tip for now. My last camera, and it's a reasonably recent purchase, and it's what Mark was talking about earlier, and that I think you said you're going to step up your video camera at some point. We've been talking about doing this for some time. I just happen to have the ability to go and do it. So we've gone to an entry-level professional video camera. Again, dedicated video camera rather than a digital SLR. This has become really important as a tool to use with this one.
Yeah.
I'll explain that in a minute. But this is point and shoot, if you like. It's got all the inbuilt bits and pieces. It's got its own additional filters on it. You can't change the lens. It is what it is. It's got a massive zoom on it, which is great when you stick it on a tripod looking across gullies. I think it's got a 32 times optical zoom, and then it goes 5 or 6 times more than that on its digital zoom, which is great. It's got, obviously it's got the touchscreen screen on it, but one of the main things that I really liked about this was, you'll notice it's got dual SD cards. Yep. I'm always paranoid about an SD card getting corrupted, and it's happened to me before. You come back, your SD card's stuffed. What are you going to do about it? I have it writing to both cards rather than having extra storage. It writes to both cards. They have a heap of different things on them, but this gives us the ability now to get a lot more cinematic quality video, and it's great. The thing about this versus the Coolpix that we were talking about, this is actually, it looks big. It's quite light. It's quite durable. It's been dropped and bounced, and it's ended up in the mud. It's okay. It hasn't broken. It's a good device. There's a few of these on the market that you can look at, but you'd want to be, I believe, in a situation where you're dedicating yourself to the videoing more than the hunting. Because I carry this. I don't carry my rifle. Rifle's on my pack. And when I get the opportunity, I take the rifle off my pack and set up for the shot. I'm just changing the style of hunting that I'm doing because, we've done a lot of hunting and I don't need to shoot everything that moves. So I'm more than happy to carry a camera and do that. So, that's been a really good addition. And, you'll see some of that footage coming through over the next 12 months at least. Yeah.
So a couple of accessories that I've got. So the first one is to do with audio, which is, as important, if not possibly more important. So as I said, I run that mic. So if I'm using a 2-camera rig, I'll usually run this one on the bigger camera. Okay.
What do they call it? It's a dead cat.
Dead cat. Dead cat.
It's a dead cat. It's my favourite type of cat.
It's a windsock, dead cat. So if I'm going to use a 2-camera rig, so that's being run as the big camera, the outdoor camera. On the vlogging camera, the smaller one, I run, depending on the situation, the DJI little lapel mics, the wireless lapel mics. So that means I'm running 2 channels of audio. So when I'm talking, and Ian's got one as well. Actually, Ian got one first. I was impressed when I saw what he got, so I got it myself. So that'll give me lapel mic audio. So when I'm talking to the camera, it's very, very good, high quality audio, and I'm also getting, the background audio, the birds and everything. And if it's that time of year, the deer roaring, the big mic's picking up the roars. So it allows you to do different types of audio. I'm actually wondering about using the DJI for podcasting, to be honest. I wonder if they...
Yeah, I'd started to think about those sorts of things as well.
Yeah, as a podcasting one. So there's that. So audio is a really important consideration. You don't have to go to the DJI, but what I suggest, if you're running a 2-camera rig, also run a 2 audio approach as well. So one camera is going to record a certain type of audio, as you see, the birds, the animals and things like that. And because generally it's a shotgun mic, so it's directional, and so it's pointing away from you. Whereas if you run a second audio rig for that camera, that's looking at you, and it doesn't have to be a wireless, it can be a wired one. And I used to do that, and I sometimes still do it. I just basically got a very cheap lapel mic with a long lead and run it down my shirt, and it's into the mic there. It gives you that audio, that very crisp audio when you're talking to the camera. So you can run those 2 audio soundtracks at the same time. You can have the birds and whatever, the roaring whilst you're talking. It's just a nice effect, or a nice way to make a video when you have that clarity of audio. And especially if you're up in the valley, and you're trying to get the roar. And I mean, sometimes it's sitting on top of you and it's really, really easy to get up. But other times you do need the sensitivity of a shotgun mic to pick them up in the background. So audio is a big consideration to your kit.
Yeah, I believe that audio is even more important than video, because probably. You can narrate a story and take someone along on the journey. It's easier to look at a fuzzy picture than it is to listen to a distorted audio.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important. Just to talk about the DJI products again, we've both got these. They're a brilliant little package. Again, to DJI, they just know how to package this stuff well. This is a battery charger case. So that I took out is the receiver. It goes on the camera like so. Right, so it sits on the top, and you can flick it around the other way, and you can see the little controls on the front of it, so you know that you're picking up the signal, you're getting the receive. I've tested mine out to about 150 meters before I get any drop of signal, so that's wireless between the receiver. And you'll also notice Mark talked about the wired lapel. Right, you can plug that into the side of that, and you can use that as well, so you can just slip that into your pocket.
Yeah.
And you can be recording these things on their own. So they're the microphones. I can give one to Mark, and I can have one, and we can have a good conversation and record it. But on its own, you can also click the record button, and it will just record the audio directly to the device, so that you can then come back when you're doing your editing, if that's what you want to do, and just drop the audio content into your editing program, sync it up, and away you go. So there's so many different options you can use these for. They come with an Apple and a USB-C plug, so they plug into most things, and they're just a good solid device. You'll get easily a full day of use out of these things with the battery, so you can switch over between the two if you need to, but you get a hell of a lot of use out of it. So a great audio product, and I'm the same with as Mark. I use the big dead cat in big windy scenarios, but typically when I'm out hunting, I defer to that because it's smaller and I can put my camera way over there, and I can whisper into this as I'm sitting on a rock with some binos or something like that, and I can keep quiet even though my camera's 100 meters away, and try and get some of that really cool stuff.
That's right. That's one of the things where you say you can actually, and I tried to do that one year with a video. So I set the camera up, and I had it on the deer, and I had the audio, and I moved away, and then I missed a shot.
Did the camera fall over?
No, I missed a shot. Oh. And because the angle was. Because the angle, what the angle of the view was and the angle of the shot was so very different. Everyone was going, "Oh, I went that way," and went, "No, that's just because of the angle. Yeah, I missed, no problem." So so I missed a shot, but yeah, you can do that. You can step away from the camera itself and provide a different angle through audio. Another accessory that I have, which is I grab it, is for the camera. Sorry, for the phone, is a little triaxial mounting rig that allows your phone to mount onto a spotting scope. So if you want to go really, 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 really long distance and you're in the right situation, I've got one of these things. This is quite a complex little tool. It's triaxial.
I've never seen a simple one.
It's triaxial, so it does do the three, back, forward, up, down, left, right, and back and forwards. So it does allow you to get, a full screen image on a spotting scope. It's not an easy setup, but once it's set up, you certainly do. Then bang, you get multiple hundreds, if not many, many hundreds of meter image through your phone. So in the right situation, it provides you an ability to really reach out there. So that's a nice little gadget. It's actually, this one's designed primarily for astronomy. So it's actually very, very, it's actually got this really weird feature where you can, because as you can imagine, you get difference with tracking. So there's another part that goes with it that allows you to continue to move your spotting scope, so you can track through the night sky. But it's I've used it for birds and things like that, and deer, and that long way away, bang, they come in range.
Yeah.
So that's an option.
I had something similar. I ditched it mainly because of its bulkiness. It never found an easy home in my pack or there was so many bits on it that it just didn't fit comfortably anywhere, and I gave up on the concept. But yeah, I'd if I was running a spotting scope all the time, I'd certainly have something similar.
Yep.
Yeah. One of the things that I think is vital, whether it be your point and shoot camera or the GoPros, action cams, those sorts of things. Again, I showed it earlier, gorilla mount, gorilla grip tripod type thing that can go anywhere. The only thing that I suggest if you are looking at buying something like that is don't get the cheap stuff that you buy for next to nothing off eBay or Amazon or wherever. Go to the camera shop and get one that's got a rating. So this is, I think, a 10 kilo rating, and like I've had 2 or 3 of these, the cheap ones, they just pop off and they can't hold them.
You get segmentation. The same thing happened with my GoPro gooseneck. It just 3 or 4 long, it just popped off, and I could never get to reattach.
Yeah, but these are brilliant. You just twist them around a branch, around a tree. It's easy to find a spot just to put it and talk to it and do what you need to do with it. Highly recommend that. The only other things that I haven't mentioned really are things like these, right? So they're an addition. They're not necessary, absolutely not necessary. They give you another perspective, but we're always thinking about, you see a lot of videos out there that have got drone footage for the sake of putting drone footage in. I think they can be used really, really well to integrate some footage into your videos, but not just for the sake of having it. You see some pretty good shots where you see someone over an animal that they've shot, and you get this vertical lift off it that shows the animal, the hunter, then the full scene and where they actually are. I quite like those sorts of shots. But I mean, they're a fun tool. There's no doubt about it. You can get some pretty cool stuff with drones.
For me, the probably the last accessory is the tripod. So I reckon if you're going to spend money, spend it on a tripod.
This carbon fiber tripod.
This is a carbon fiber tripod. It's a Manfrotto, which is, world-renowned Italian. And in fact, you'll see that even if people don't run Manfrotto tripods, they often run the Manfrotto head units.
Manfrotto head
you got
unit.
There. That's it. That's it.
Zoomy tripod.
It's the best stuff there is. There's no doubt about it. I mean, there's a couple of other brands that you might argue, but for me, I reckon this is about the best it gets. This is the carbon fiber one. It weighs nothing. It's a 3-section leg, so it extends right out. The adjusters are one of those, half turn, because they're quick to adjust in the scrub. I find that that's really important. The latch and lever ones can be a little bit slow and a bit clunky. These ones are fantastic. So a good tripod is a wise investment, and I've got a few. I've got more robust tripods that I use in a stationary position, like in the shed when I'm doing videos and things like that. But that's my kind of field tripod. It's pretty hard to beat, but it's not cheap. It's the carbon fiber one. It's not a cheap investment, but it's certainly a very wise investment.
Well, I don't use the Manfrotto one. I use the Zoomy one. A friend of mine's wife is a professional photographer, and this is what they use. It's carbon fiber. It's super light. It's got all of the features that you would expect, and it is well priced. So I wouldn't say it's a major investment for this one. This one's lasted me for 4 or 5 years now. It's going really well. And the other thing, when you're moving to a situation where you're videoing more, like I'm adding that to that and carrying quite a rig around, because I'm doing it for that specific purpose. Videoing's not second, it's first. It's also a good walking stick, a good solid carbon fiber one. It's even got the wrist strap and everything that goes in it. It's a walking stick, and in fact these ones, and I'm sure yours does too, Mark. But these double as a walking stick. Anyway, if you were to just decide you needed a walking stick for something, that extends and you have a walking pole as well. But invest in a decent one of these. Don't go El Cheapo. Save your dollars for a little bit later on and get a decent carbon fiber one. What's left in the kit bag?
The only really other thing is batteries.
And battery packs.
Batteries. So depending on, one of the reasons why I'll probably stick with Sony is because I've got so many Sony batteries.
Investments.
I've already done that. They're and the battery for the bigger camera is a fairly compact battery in itself, and this is the bigger one. I don't know if it's truly an Australian company, but there's an Australian company online called Wasabi. I like their batteries.
That's good, because I was using another company and they were rubbish.
Where can we see if we can get it in there? Wasabi Power. These guys.
Oh.
I use these guys, and they have a lot of batteries. So these are the extra batteries for the Sony vlogging camera, and that's their version for the video camera. So the big camera, and they're often bigger, so they've got more grunt in them, though they're not, physically not much difference in size. So and they're cheap. they're pretty cheap. So I don't know exactly how they do it, and I don't know what real value the comparison between the brand
The
ones,
OEM.
but I've used them for ages, and they certainly work. And
Well, I'll give you an example of that. So this is the battery in my big camera,
yeah,
and it's got a reasonable size about it, and they're not cheap. They're $250 a battery to get a second one. Except I went to one of these other online battery providers, and I bought two because they were reasonably cheap. They looked the same, specs were the same, but the camera wouldn't accept it. It came with 50 or 60% charge, and I put it in, and the camera ran, like it worked okay, but it wouldn't charge it. So I ended up getting back in contact with them, and they sent me two more. So I had four of them, and I ran them all flat. And for this camera specifically, you charge it by plugging the camera in. This doesn't plug into its own charger. You can get another charger for it, obviously, so you can charge it a different way. But I get usually over a three-day hunt weekend, I don't need to change the battery. So I get a lot of battery out of it, but I don't want to be in the situation where it does go flat, so I want another one. But I had to send them all back. So the battery may be okay, but the product wouldn't charge it. So I'm on the hunt now, and Wasabi, thanks for the tip. I'm going to go and check them out and see if they can send me.
I found that when I bought the spare batteries, I bought a little USB charger for them because I don't charge through the camera. It's just a little USB plug-in charger, and I'll have them all lined up, and I'll just charge them all. I do think there is some of the bigger cameras. I think there is quite a long lead time in charging via the camera. So I know, for instance, this camera has a DCN, so you can run this on DC if you're in the right position. So if I was using it tonight, I could actually plug this into the power and run it that way. Yep. But on battery, I use those batteries, and I generally don't charge through the camera. I just charge them up on the charger itself. So, mate, I don't even know if they would charge through the camera. I don't think I've ever tried to charge the battery through the camera.
Yeah, well, I've always charged. How my batteries came, so that's the way I got to do it.
I've always charged through the spare charger. There you go. So that's interesting. Yeah, probably the last thing is memory cards. I've got an approach to memory cards. If it's the memory card that sits in your camera all the time, buy a high quality memory card. And memory cards are not only governed by their capacity, but they're also governed by their speed and rewritability. Yeah. I suggest the memory cards in your camera, as in your video cameras, should be high quality. The memory cards in your trail cameras, they can literally be the $4.99 bargain bin ones from Officeworks, and that's literally what I got. I was at Officeworks one day, and they had 16 gig memory cards for $5. So I just grabbed a handful of them, and they live in the trail camera, and they seem to work fine in the trail camera. But I find for your video cameras, you want quality memory cards because their speed in writing and their quality of the transfer of information is really, really noticeable. So
it's important. Yep.
Though interestingly, big is not always the best. So the memory card in this camera actually there's a maximum limit of the size of the memory card you can put in this. You can put a bigger one in, but it doesn't give you any more memory.
It's interesting you say that. In my big new camera, if I don't put one of high enough write speed, it won't let me record in 4K.
That's right. Yep.
And what you're saying is accurate. But then when we talk about this other product that we didn't bring up, which is ye old budget trail camera, it says in the specs that it can only take a memory card up to a certain size. And I can't remember what that is. If I put a memory card in that's bigger than that, it doesn't just limit the size of that card. It doesn't work.
That's right.
It won't write to it. So I've taken the cards out of these.
So
but
it's not necessarily the size as well as the quality. So that's it. So in this one, I run a very high quality, memory card. It's Extreme Pro. It's got 170 meg write speed, and it's 256. It says if you go over 256, it actually has an effect on the camera. So it's not like you don't get any. You don't get any more capacity, and actually has an effect on the camera. This guy runs a very, very nice memory card as well. So again, it runs a gold standard memory card. The memory cards in the trail cameras are, literally super cheap scan, whatever it is, and only 16. I only put 16s and 32s, and the only reason I put 32s in there was I think when I grabbed the bargain bin, that was the 32s and the 16s were the same price, so I just grabbed them. So that's an important thing about sometimes if it doesn't have enough write speed, you won't get the full functionality of it. And I think that's the same with this one. There was something about it. I remember when I got it said if you didn't put a certain write speed, you wouldn't get to 4K. And the other thing is, for some reason, there can have an overcapacity issue.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, if you've got a big camera that's going to run 4K, like the ones that we're using here, those larger, I think I'm going 256 of the extreme ones. They're cheap. I went in thinking they were going to be really expensive, but these days, they're cheap.
You can
good quality ones.
They're more expensive, but they're not prohibitively expensive. So, for instance, the 256 on this particular camera will give me 5 hours and 90 minutes at 4K. So that's a fair bit of footage, and if I was thinking that I was going to run more footage than that, I'd either want, and depending on what kind of base camp I had, I'd either take a laptop and just download it, or take a second memory card.
How do you have any? This is a leading question. I'll start it again. One of those Facebook thingies that popped up on my feed was just a way to store your memory cards. So that's quite a good little unit. Keeps everything organised. I had mine rolling around in the front pocket of a pack, and I just kept losing bits and pieces. So this gives me access to, a couple of large ones or adapters. Same on the other side, SIM cards and the like. But it's just a nice, tidy way to look after them. And it also acts as a hub, so I can plug that into whatever device I want and dump all of that information out so I don't lose it. One thing that I did on a recent hunt, which is just a dumb thing, we're driving out the driveway. I'd taken some really cool footage on the GoPro. I decided as I was driving down the driveway that I'd just go playback so I could have a look at it while I was waiting for other people to catch up behind me. I stopped because I was coming up to a gate, and when I looked down, I saw the deleting all wheel going on, and I just deleted absolutely everything from the whole weekend, which is a real shame because it was such a cool hunt and I wasn't able to share it. But this is why you should probably try and have a way to pull those cards out, store them, have multiple versions, get that footage out, because it is a precious asset when you spend a lot of time trying to collect it.
So just like the battery box for a while, I mean, I've got lots and lots of little tackle boxes. So I had a very small, literally a tackle box, a little plastic tackle box that would hold a number of memory cards in it. Though my lovely wife has bought me a small rig one for Christmas, and it's a little aluminium one, and I think it has 6 dedicated memory card slots in it. Yeah, because what I do is with the trail cams, I'll go up there and I'll look at them, and if they've got images on them, I go, oh yeah, there's a deer here. I'll pull the memory card and put another memory card in and leave that one there. So I have lots of memory cards in that cheapy range for the trail cams. So I'll just change them over. If there's nothing on there, I might move the camera, but I will go. So when I go up, I'll take memory cards to do. I used to, take the computer and all that stuff with the darts. So I do swap over, and then I go to Kilcoy, the bakery at Kilcoy, sit at the baker's, get a pie, have a chocolate milk, watch video on the laptop in the convenience of the bakery. So lots of little memory cards to take along.
Yeah, floating around here somewhere, I've got an adapter which plugs into my phone, so I can plug it in the phone, whack that in there, dump all the files down. But that was great until I had 6,000 images on a camera, and I didn't want to sit there waiting for 3 hours for it to drop to an iPhone. I'm the same. I just take spares out. It's hard though. Like I take that little adapter when I'm out hunting. So I'll go and put these trail cameras up in state forest, and then I'll go back and have a look at them. If I'm actually hunting, when I'm checking those cameras, I'm wanting to check those on the spot. So I take that little adapter for that purpose. These things and a lot of others, they've got these tiny little screens on them.
Yeah, that's it.
They're good. Like, they're going to show you.
They're good enough to tell you something there.
They're good enough to get you excited about what's going on, I can tell you. And while we're talking about those, these are the cheapies from Anaconda.
Well, they're the model I run.
Yeah, and you know what? They do a pretty good job. They take a lot of batteries.
Yep.
You only have to fill up half of that if you want it to run a short amount of time. You don't have to fill the whole thing up. But I tend to, because I leave them out for a long time. The quality's not bad. You've got to learn how to get in there and change the settings. So I don't bother taking video anymore. I just take stills, because video chews a heap of battery. And I change the sensitivity down to low, so that if there's a bit of waving grass or a waving branch or something like that, I get 1,000 photos of that. So get there and change those settings, learn how to use the thing. But once you've set it up, they're pretty damn good. I went through a stage of being very freaking frustrated with them, because every time I went back to my block, for some reason, I'd either not turned it on, I'd left it in demo mode, or I put a USB card, which was the majority of the problem. I went and bought USB cards like we talked about and put them in all my trail cameras, and then I realized that it was the SD card that was the problem. It was bigger than the spec allowed, so it just wouldn't write to it. So I lost lots of precious time one year because I thought I'd done the right thing. But they're worth $100, absolutely. And I've knocks one off. Like, I'll feel a bit dirty about it, but I'm not going to be, bitterly disappointed about the asset loss.
And that was how I started, because my first trail cam was quite a expensive one, and I ended up losing it. And ouch. And then I discovered the Anacondas one, and that was on one of their mini regular specials, and they were like $99, and I bought 4 of them. Yeah. So the price of one good one, I had 4, so I could bracket. And and having multiple trail cams, if you find a place where you think you're getting good game, having them opposing each other or looking at each other is actually a really interesting. Because if you think about it, you're only getting one view, but you don't know what's happening on the other side of the camera. So having them looking over each other's shoulder. You go, oh wow, look at that! That's the approach that they're taking, or that's the way they're going, or something like that. So with 4, I'll often do 2 kind of checking on each other, especially around a fence line or something like that. So I get a much better understanding of approach.
I've had some really awesome experiences with trail cams in state forest. And for me, as much as it is great to see the animals on the camera, I think it's an excellent validation tool that your theory is working. That you've found what you think are active scrapes, you've found what you think is active sign, but you walk out of there not seeing a deer, but you've put a trail camera up there. I did it last year, found an absolute cracking spot. Well, I believed it was. Left it there, went back again 6 weeks later after the rut, and went back and had a look at it. Deer preaching right in front of my camera. It was just beautiful. So it validates for me that my thought and theory about deer habitat is accurate, and that's important for me.
Yeah, look, I was chasing pigs up on that block for 2 years before I finally caught evidence of them. I saw signs or they're here somewhere. Finally got a bit of evidence from them, and that was it. I was like, wow. And in fact, the first animal I ever took off that block was a massive pig, and then I didn't see any other. Well, that's really weird because I didn't see any evidence. And then maybe a year after taking that pig, I said, oh, I'm getting pig sign again. And so they're here, and the farmer would say, yeah, there's, the property owner would say, yeah, there's pigs about. I keep finding rootings and stuff like that. Lots of evidence, couldn't find them. And then once, bang, there they are. 3 little pigs. Found them. And then, there's 3 little pigs. There's got to be more. So that was it. So one of the cameras I've got set up there right now is in an area that it's looking for pigs rather than for deer.
Mm.
Yep. Good. And then you get all the I suppose bycatch like birds, and so like I set this camera up and there's foxes and there's hares and there's rabbits, and there's wild dogs, a lot of wild dogs come through. Once I've got a deer went through with an ear tag in it. I went, where did that one come from? Where's that deer from? And it was like number 33, so it wasn't like 1. It was like, so that was it. And there's no close property in that area that's got deer on that property. There is a couple up there with deer, but there's none close. Not to the point where they're tagging deer. That's a fair. That deer travelled a fair way.
Interesting, isn't it?
It was. Yeah. Hang on, that deer's got an air tag in it. Look at that! Holy moly!
That camera I recovered last year had, which was really cool for me. It had, I think, 4,500 photos and hundreds of animals. And like you say, it went from deer to pigs to dogs to owls. And all sorts of other, had rabbits and wild dogs and foxes. But what showed up on that camera for me that was exciting was red deer. So it was an area of the park I'd only ever seen fallow in. I'd only started hearing rumours that there were red deer in there. Excuse me. And here they were. They came straight in front of the camera, red deer, and I was like, oh, how good's this? So anyway, it was a nice recovery after 12 months. I fully expected it was going to be gone, but it was nice to get it. So yeah.
So there's a whole another world of accessories behind us, but that's kind of the building blocks for the kit, and those accessories are like plates, mounting plates, lights, and stuff like that. But from a video point of view, that's a starting point, and I suppose to close it out. If you're thinking about video, think about, even with that one purchase, using that and your phone, how you can create a 2-camera recording opportunity. So it's not just point and shoot, it's you and 2-camera. And you can use your phone, you can do all sorts of things, but think about how you can create multiple camera angles.
Yeah, I agree. And so if you have your phone and something that can give you a bit more distance, I think you're on your way. Action cams are cool, but your phone can do a lot of it. Get it a mount so that you can put it on a little Gorilla Grip. They're really important little accessories, and they're cheap. And sound. Sound is really important. If you're going to talk, make sure you get something, lapel mic, dead cat, fancy bloody wireless things if you want to do it. But get good quality audio, because as soon as you point that thing away from you, generally you're not going to get good sound. Even with good cameras like these things have got a little microphone in the front that points forward. It's not going to pick me up in the wind. Crosswind's going to kill it. If you don't have better quality audio plugged in, you're going to ruin your opportunities to present a nice video. So,
and that's it. That's exactly what this is. It's a shotgun mic. It's directional, so it fantastic at picking up the ambient sound of what you're looking at. But if I'm talking, it's actually pointing away from me, unless I'm looking at that camera.
That's it. So anyway, hopefully you all got something out of that. If you're budding video enthusiasts, we're not going to say we're experts, but this is our experience.
This is what we've learned, yes.
Yeah, if you've got any questions, sing out. More than happy to talk you through certain things. But, look out. You might see a couple of GoPros up on the pre-blooded page.
There's a real possibility around that one.
No, we said quality gear would go up there. We can't go doing that.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's enough for me.
Okay,
Thanks,
buddy.
mate.
No problem.
Cheers.
See you again, guys.